Good afternoon. A long time no see, as somebody said. Hi. Since we are a very intimate group here, connected to this topic, we could do it more interestingly. Not only I will be presenting one way, as usually it is the case. I would like to have more interaction, questions, unexpected ideas, challenging views, everything what comes to your mind, please don't hesitate. I'm always welcoming it. And I would love to have kind of deeper discussion and involvement. So you can interrupt any time. There is a microphone there. I can leave it somewhere here. But of course, it has to be to the topic, on the topic, to the point. I mean, I don't want to restrict your ways of expressing yourself, but just keep this in mind that we are having this profound topic today. The evolution of consciousness and the body. That very body which you were presenting already as body electrical, as there is energy within the body, there is something going on. But I will not go into the scientific approach. I will keep up with my own psychological approach. The first thing, if we look at the body, what do we see? How we understand the body in general? What is it really? Beyond those things we know biologically, I heard today microbes, viruses, funguses, they're all working together to keep up this body together. And what else is there? Energy. What energy? What for? What is this energy doing there?
Keeps us moving.
Why? Why do we have to move? I will be digging, sorry.
To have experience.
To have experience.
It's an instrument for this experience.
Right. For what experience?
Life.
Life as experience. What is this life about?
Some way we're enacting what we're attached to, we're looking out there for something, we're here, we're still being propelled in some sense.
Yeah.
Bodies, we've come into it to work out things we're not even aware of ourselves.
You speak a language, we come to it, we are here to have experience, we need the body. You see, this we stand separate from the body, and here we have a fundamental issue. There is something else within the body which wants to be part of the body, which considers itself to be part of the body, through the mind, through the vital, identifies itself with the body, and still we have this sense that we are in the body. It's my body, we say. We don't say I am body. Yeah? When you look at Shakespeare's language, you will hear, my tongue carried me away or something, my eyes, led me in the wrong direction or something. My mind, my thought, all this my thought, my mind, my tongue carried me away. What is all this? Who is carried away by my tongue, sight, hearing? What is this body about? It's not just a couple of microbes and viruses working together, though it is also that. And there are many other things in between. There are organs. But look at our organs, the constitution of the body. What do we have? What do we wear on this body? Yeah, the parts. Let us examine them. What do they do, these parts, really?
Senses, they give us our senses.
Let us count them. What?
See, sight.
Sight. We have eyes. Eyes connected to the brain, to the whole system. We have ears. We hear sounds. And not only sounds, we interpret by hearing the sounds with something also inbuilt in the body. And what else?
Taste, smell.
Taste, smell, touch, skin, inside, outside. Inside is the truck. what you were mentioning, is a pipeline. The pipeline goes from the mouth through the whole intestine, goes out. Yeah? And it is built like a skin that it's amazing. I found out from you. And I had a vision. Wow, it's a pipeline going through. You have to take things out from outside, put into that pipeline, and this inner skin will get energy out, put it into the system as electricity, and we will start moving, living, functioning physically. We have liver, we have kidneys. Kidneys will work with liquids, get out of liquids everything they need and bring the water into the system, whereas liver will deal with other kind of sources and also prepare something for the blood. We have spleen and we have stomach, which is digesting all the hard, but the hard stuff will go through the pipeline, will not be taken into the kidneys. It will get out. Everything will be taken by the touch, the inner touch, and just look at this marvelous creation. We have head, which can turn. We can turn our sight, we can turn our hearing. Now, body is not the body, it seems. It is just an embodiment of consciousness with all the faculties. Can you imagine body without seeing, hearing, feeling, thinking, speaking, and touching? What for? Do we have to have a body then? So the body is the embodiment of these faculties. It lives for them. It is them here physically available. But they are not only physical faculties. They come from their own domains, from the mental and vital realms. They are connecting us to the depth of our being not in the body. And still body is gathering all of them and giving them life here, giving them access to this physical life. What an amazing creation. Now I want to review our body from this point of view, from the faculties of consciousness, rather than from the physical or biological point of view, what is happening chemically within it. Yeah? So, because chemistry and all that will be just supporting this. It is for this purpose. Is it not so? So, Sri Aurobindo has a profound chapter, the supramental manifestation. And there he has the chapter which is called The Divine Body. And he starts, this is the first sentence or paragraph. A divine life in a divine body is the formula of the ideal that we envisage. The divine life in the divine body. This is all in this phrase. All is here in one particular phrase. The divine life in the divine body. And then he continues. The whole chapter is dedicated how our body is not yet fitting for this divine life and how it is evolving to that level. What is to be done to grow into that consciousness. How we have to open our faculties of consciousness to the deeper realms of their own and allow that light to come through and to change our body. Our body will be changing, evolving, developing new faculties, new possibilities, becoming more and more subtle. We already are quite unique. If you compare us to animal kingdom, you will see that we developed certain faculties, qualities within the physical body. We have a brain well developed. Only maybe dolphins can compete with us. Otherwise, we are uniquely developed in the physical sense, because this instrument is perceptive of the regions and levels of consciousness which are going beyond animal kingdom. And still we wear this animal body. We still have the inheritance from the past. So, but what will be the divine body? What will be the nature of this body, its structure, the principle of its activity, the perfection that distinguishes it from the limited and imperfect physicality within which we are now bound? What will be the conditions and operations of its life, still physical in its base upon the earth, by which it can be known as divine? These are very important questions for us to see what body is. Last time we saw how it is envisioned in the Vedic vision, that the body is the part of the whole system. The body is not separate from the vital and the mind, from life and mind. They would not come into existence, neither vital nor mind, if body would not be there. This is something interesting. Yeah? We have physical, vital, physical, mental, physical. We will have physical, vital, mental, vital. We have physical, mental, vital, mental, and mental, all 9 inbuilt, so to say, levels. And these are chakras, as we know them in Tantra. These would be the chakras, the levels of consciousness. And on each level of consciousness, there is the set of same qualities or faculties. Seeing, hearing, speaking, thinking, feeling, and being in the body, on each level. On physical level, these are our organs. Eyes, ears, brain, all these functions, tongue, bacteria helping, and so on. On the vital level, it's something else. We also can see on the vital level. When we dream, we sleep, we also have sight, we can hear, we can speak, express ourselves, we can move as an entity. It's more fluid, it's not so rigid as the physical body, but still, it is there. The sense of the vital and all the faculties are involved there. You can have intense feeling when you dream. So intense that you cry like a baby. Yeah? Because something you saw, something you felt, it is overwhelming. You wake up and you never had such strong feeling in your physical, because the vital is more direct to our emotions. Then physical is blocking it away, helping us to become less sensitive. Physical is more heavy. It holds the change. It is very difficult to bring the change into the physical, but once we bring it there, it is settled. It is supporting it. That's why it is resisting every change. But that resistance is important, because it will not allow casual things to come and settle. It helps us to get out of nightmares. Well, what do we do when we go into nightmare? We try to wake up. Why? Because the fortress is here. It protects us from those powers of the vital. And people who commit suicide, unfortunately, don't think about it, that they will have no protection anymore. And all their troubles, which they had, will hunt them directly there, without any protection. It's very dangerous. That's why they say they go to hell. Because they create for themselves the hell. They remove the protection. It's all around the body. I think in integral yoga, if you look at it, 1 second, I will record some of you also, if you don't mind. Because I put second camera for you. All right. Say hello. Hello. When I started to analyze the body, just physically, thinking about its functions, I saw that there is nothing here which is physical. Physical here is just to hold all those spiritual, as you said, experiences of something else, of these faculties of consciousness, as Aitareya would define them, and we read last time that when Bhrigu comes to Varuna, his father, what is Brahman, he asks him about this. He tells him, Annam pranam chakshuh shrotram mano vacham iti. This is the definition of Brahman. That is, Annam, my matter, material part, physical. Pranam, the prana, energy. Chakshuh, seeing. Shrotram, hearing. Vacha, mano, manas, mind, which is holding consciousness in any concentration. And vacham, speech, self-expression of consciousness. And when he says speech, he doesn't mean only speaking by the tongue. It means every self-expression in any form, in any language. Not only verbal language. It can be language of the dance, of the gesture, of the look, of mathematics, music, art, whatever the language. The self-expression is the word. Yeah? So here the same with the mind. Mind is the faculty of consciousness which can concentrate on any image of things, hold that, and identify oneself with that. Get knowledge by identity, this manas. What manas concentrates upon, that we start to know. As Yajnavalkya would say, it is not by this sight, by the eye that we see, but by the manas we see. It's not by the ear we hear, but by the mind we hear. It's mind which is hearing, mind which is seeing through these faculties. Now, if you look at this general picture of 5 koshas of Taittiriya, which we were going through last time, you can see that there are different bodies within the body. So the physical body is the last one. And this physical body holds other bodies within. So all of them are manifested because of physical body. They would not come into manifestation if physicality would not be there. They are for the physical body. So in our integral yoga, the view on spirit and body is quite opposite. We are rather following Chandogya, Chandogya says that the heaven, for human beings, the heaven is heaven and the earth is earth, but for the divine beings, the heaven is earth and the earth is heaven. Earth is heaven for them. We see our earth as something inferior, something we have to get rid of, get out of, but it is not the case. It is actually the point of all manifestation. We see the body as the final result of all those levels coming down and manifesting themselves in the body. Without it, there is no purpose for them to be. Why at all manifestation? What for all these levels? What for mind? What for life? If there is no body where life can manifest itself. Body is the divine being in becoming. It is that Sat, which is the most unconscious here, which becomes slowly conscious and more suitable for the consciousness. And all the levels from Sat, Chit, Ananda, Vijnana, Manas, Prana will embody within this Anna Maya Purusha. This is the vision of the Indian tradition, of Tantra also, and Kashmiri and Shaivism is very close here to this. They view body in the same way, especially Abhinavagupta. And that's what is surprising me, that Sri Aurobindo is, in some way even he says, I am tantric, he says somewhere. And in another place he says, I don't bring anything new. It's all already there in tradition. You just have to find it, to see it, and interpret it. But there is another view, which is Advaitic, that we have to get out of the body and get into the spirit and disappear, dissolve ourselves there. Yeah. No? Awesome. If you look into Vedic epistemology, this is quite interesting. You will find actually quite a meaningful explanation by Sri Aurobindo. In the ancient conception of the universe, our material existence is formed from the 5 elemental states of matter: the ethereal, aerial, fiery, liquid, and solid. Pancha Mahabhutani, some of you know this. 5 great elements. Everything that has to do with our material existence is called the elemental adhibhuta. In this material, there move non-material powers, manifesting through the mind force and life force that work upon matter, and these are called gods or devas. Everything that has to do with the working of the non-material in us is called adhidaiva, that which pertains to the gods. So the faculties of consciousness are seen as gods. Gods are the faculties of consciousness. Quite amazing. Yeah? There are no gods, these are personalized forces which represent certain faculties. If we come to Veda, we will see that Indra is the Lord of the divine mind, who brings this lightning of intuition, who brings illumination into our darkened hemisphere, because our hemisphere of the mind builds up its own understanding of the world. But once the lightning is breaking through the ceiling, we can see things as they are truly are. So in that sense, Indra is the intuition. But they don't speak about intuition in the Veda, they speak about Indra. He is personalized, power of the divine.
How old are these teachings? How old are these
Upanishads are the oldest, of course, we can say like 1500 BC. Vedas are 6000 BC and more. We do not know how old Vedas are, truly speaking, because it was an oral tradition, so we can't really know. There are different schedules or the different discoveries. Tilak speaks about 6000 BC of Taittiriya Samhita, because Taittiriya is, he found their constellations, and by Jyotisha he figured out, he calculated back, and he found this is 6000 BC, Taittiriya.
This is still revolutionary. 6,000.
Right. But Taittiriya is much younger than Rig Veda, yeah? Because all the mantras are taken from Rig Veda into Taittiriya, and Rig Veda never mentions anything of Taittiriya. So you can imagine. So we do not know the timing. And actually it doesn't matter even, yeah? The timing, because these are eternal issues. They were eternal that time, they are eternal this time, and in the future they will be the same eternal issues. So what does it matter, really, to what time the composition belongs?
This Adibhutas, the forces that are manifest in matter, it sounds like in the Shinto religion also, they have these same concept
Could
of
be.
deities.
Deities embodying the body. Yeah?
For energy forces.
All right. Yes, definitely. And I was, yes? Yeah, I'm so sorry. I wanted to develop this kind of idea because I got, yeah, please.
I think the elementals are different energy centers than the chakras.
Yes, definitely.
At the base of the throat is going to be one soft palate, another Agnis and the navel. And why would we be aware, develop these? I think the Shiva Sutras and the yogis are going to be developing these elementals to help to manifest in the material. I don't think you
Yeah, well, we are not talking about these as chakras at all, yeah? These are these 5 elements, Pancha Mahabhutani. We will come to them in a minute. We speak about non-material powers, Adhidaiva. And Adhidaiva, these are the faculties of consciousness, or what we call seeing, speaking, because these indriyas are infinite, as Sri Aurobindo says. They are infinite. They are not only in our physical body. They are in the vital realm, they are in the mental realm, they are pervading the whole region, all from the supramental down, from Vijnana Maya Purusha. The sight, the revelation on the highest level will be the revelation. Shruti will be the inspirational knowledge. And then they come down, and on each level they have their functionality, because consciousness operates through its instruments, through its faculties. Can you imagine consciousness without faculties? You don't see, don't hear, don't speak. There is no word. There is no command from the divine. The word is the command, the logos, which manifests the divine. How consciousness would reveal itself? How consciousness would reveal the being without faculties, without its instruments? And Sri Aurobindo says, if there is no action of consciousness, it can know only its own unborn self, that being, Sat. It becomes like a pure mirror looking into the infinite being without any ripple. It's like a pure mirror in which being, the infinite eternal being, sees itself, knows itself as unmanifest. Now, for the manifestation we need faculties, we need activities. We have to see, to hear, to touch, to think, to express oneself. Otherwise, how manifestation would come into being, how this body would be born. It's just the place where all these faculties are manifested, embodied. And consciousness comes through them, and by them can operate in this world, and perceive it, and know it, and develop it, and change it. They are the bridges. So these hidden powers, somebody asked Sri Aurobindo, and I was mentioning this before, where do you see these? He spoke about evolution, that from the material there is life evolving. From life, the hidden mind is evolving. And they say, when we look in the microscope, we don't see life and mind there. We see only the particles, electrons, protons, even those we don't see. Just we see something. So where are they? Where is that life and mind there? And he says it is within the relation between electron and proton. Relation. It's hidden in the energy which will manifest its own organs in the evolutionary process. So starting from the singular monocellular organism, you can see that monocellular organism already tries to communicate, to see, to hear, to understand, to devour, but it doesn't have organs yet. But they are all inbuilt. Consciousness is already there. It already started the journey to build its own organs. And over billions of years these organs are built. And we have this, look at this body. It built up through eyes, ears, brain, the whole system, accumulated all from outside and from inside, put it to work. What a complex machinery. Incredible. I'm not speaking about brain. It's all these connections in the brain are more than the stars in the universe. So what is this system about? And bacteria, trillions of them, trillions in that intestine tract, working hard to make things, function. Who put all this to work? How it was envisioned?
And why?
And why? It's a good question, thank you. I like why. What for? What's the reason? What's the purpose? So, but behind these faculties of consciousness behind Adhidaiva. And above the non-material powers, containing them, greater than they, is the self or spirit, Atman. And everything that has to do with the highest existence in us is called the spiritual Adhyatma. So we have three levels. Adhyatma is the innermost, Adhidaiva is the inner, and Advibhuta is the surface, the outer. That's why innermost we know everything, outermost we know nothing. And in between there are these bridges, faculties, connecting the inner to the outer. The eyes, hearing, seeing, speaking, thinking. They are the connections.
Would you go back one, please? I wanted to read the last one.
It is very common sense, is it not so? It's not something high philosophy from somewhere. It should be common sense. When you speak, we are here in the body, this is who we, it's Adhyatma, that is the self within, which is holding these faculties, using them, and manifests them in this body. It is quite a common sense. There is nothing extraordinary. Of course, the whole body is totally extraordinary, if you think from that point of view. So, I will skip this. So we have this Adhidaiva faculties, seeing, speaking, hearing, thinking, feeling, and being in the body. It can be turned outside, as we usually turn our faculties outside. We look outside, we look into the mirror, we try to make ourselves look good. We put nice clothes, we think that's what we are. We carry ourselves out. We meet other people with the same kind of expectation that their surface is what they are. And it is very true and very normal expectation, because we have to be outside that what we are within. It's a legitimate expectation, only we are not yet. So we try to present ourselves more than we are. Yeah? We are not aware of our inner being. So when we turn our faculties outside, we see this outer world. And as the Rishi of Upanishads would say, the wise one will turn his sight within. He will close his eyes, ears, his thinking outside, and put all the faculties within. And that you can turn to within. You can see arrows up, and that is towards Adhyatma. And with these very faculties, you can realize your inner self, innermost self. With these very faculties, which are looking now outside, you can turn within and realize your unborn self. It's quite interesting. You don't need other faculties. They will be the same. Because they are infinite. They are the bridge from the innermost to the outermost self. They are pervading the whole universe. Now, in the Vedantic Yoga, and maybe I should mention this, in the Kena Upanishad it is spoken, and Sri Aurobindo wrote beautiful commentary on it, explaining how Vedantic Yoga was. They were not looking neither outside nor inside. The moment you look inside, the outer world disappears. So you go into samadhi, into trance, into nirvana, yeah? And you feel good there. Yeah. You disappear in it, in the spirit. So no more troubles from the world. The moment you look outside, nirvana disappears. There is no unborn self. So you become troubled, carried away by this world. As in Savitri, when Satyavan meets Savitri for the first time, he tells her exactly this. When I looked for myself, inner self, nature disappeared. But when I followed nature, the self disappeared. How can I keep both? How can I bridge both? And the Vedantic Yoga was different. It was really, as Sri Aurobindo describes, these faculties were outside, but they looked and they became consciously passive and looked for the inner light to come through to the surface. Our faculties of consciousness are always running for self-satisfaction. We want to see beautiful things, we want to hear beautiful music, we want to feel good massage touch, healthy. We want to have joy for all the faculties, is it not so? Good taste, good smell. And all our life we run for their self-satisfaction, nothing else. We are prisoners of these faculties who are looking for their self-satisfaction. And they build this ego sense within them. Now, in Vedantic Yoga, these very faculties have to reject their self-satisfaction and look for the deeper light, for the original light, which is the only thing which can satisfy them. And this is the biggest question, how? So, becoming conscious of the inner self, or the innermost self, Brahman, they are looking and waiting for him. They are not trying to satisfy themselves in the ordinary way as they are usually doing. So they stop doing it. They become, as Sri Aurobindo says, consciously passive and perceptive of that inner light. They are waiting for him. They are waiting for the truth in the sight, in the hearing, in speaking, constantly waiting. They are not trying to get the joy from manifestation as usually they did before. And this is the most challenging part, because this light does not come always, immediately. There are gaps in between. Light will come once, and then for weeks will not come. So what would they do? They slowly say, okay, we go back. Well, what should we do? Little joy is better than nothing. That's where we are all challenged by this, or how to say, tested. Yeah? Our sincerity of knowing the divine is tested by this simple device. We cannot know the divine other than just to wait for him to, and call for him, and to become perceptive only of him within these faculties. And we don't have anything else. We have only the faculties. We don't have other instruments to do it. How would you do it otherwise? How would you come to the divine consciousness other than through faculties? Through seeing, hearing, speaking, thinking, feeling, and being in the body. What else could you use? There's nothing else. These are the instruments, the faculties, and the bridges which can bring. So instead of these arrows looking either within or without, we have to put from innermost towards the outermost, one way. Yeah? Or if you want, both ways. They're calling there, and from there they receive the light. Calling and receiving. Calling and receiving. Waiting. This is the most important faculty of which we have, or the quality which we have to acquire in this yoga. The patience and perseverance, waiting for the answer of the Spirit. And we are not so patient, as we know. So that's why we fall back, then we again wake up, and again come back, and again we fall back, and it's going on and on in our life. Makes sense? It's not the highest mathematics, it's just... And if I remove these faculties, this yellow, what will happen that Adhyatma and Adhibhuta is one Atman, one self. Only consciousness is viewing it outwardly or inwardly. It is because of this yellow, which can view both ways, that we got this manifestation. Consciousness is kind of playing trick with us. It can look outside or it can look inside.
When we look inside, we are not necessarily using the same faculties that we use to look outside.
And what, you have some other faculties?
Well, because typically when you try to look inside, you have your eyes closed and you try to shut out external noise and you sit quietly and you're trying to sense it by some other means.
It's quite interesting. This is the usual, I had the same kind of, until I started to examine it, that actually when you close your eyes, you see something there. When you close your ears, you hear something there. Silence is the faculty of hearing. How else would you know that it is silence if you don't hear it? Or light. How would you know that it is light if you don't see it? Or bliss if you don't feel it?
Not only do I seem to be using my faculties, I seem to be using all of yours as well. Because when I come here and I bring my faculties, which are outdrawn, and I come into contact with people whose faculties are indrawn, your state of indrawness pulls me inside. It's fascinating. So it's not only just, again, my faculties, it's all of ours, I would say. There's that fascinates.
Beautiful. And it is very true, because if you look into the Upanishads, and Aitareya especially, you will find this explanation, that the faculties of consciousness are universal, of universal Purusha. And they plunged into this inconscient ocean. And from there, the bodies, individual bodies were built. Yeah? Because they populate these individual bodies, as it were. So we all share universal faculties. We all have seeing, we all have hearing, thinking, and it is contagious because basically in the mental realm, not in the physical. Through the physical we come to our mental, to our inner realm. They are all vibrating there. So if I am vibrating in my mental realm, you will vibrate in yours. And that's how it is happening. Why we meet and we discuss and learn from each other. We bring these vibrations and we recognize them within ourselves. And body is the forepost, or that place where everything is anchored and through which everything can be achieved and realized. So it's very true. We share universal faculties. There are no individual faculties. And this is something only from Upanishads you can gather. We think it's my seeing, my hearing. No. As Kenna would say, Yadvachan abhyuditam yena vag abhyudyate tadeva brahma. Which is not spoken by the speech, but by which the speech is spoken, that is the spirit. Which is not seen by the eye, but by which the eye is seeing, that is Brahman. Which is not heard by hearing, but by which hearing is heard, that is Brahman. Which is not thought by the mind, but by which the mind is thinking, that is Brahman. We are all sharing these universal faculties. When consciousness becomes aware of its faculties, then it is already a big step forward. Because consciousness, as Sri Aurobindo defines this, as seeing of our seeing, hearing of our hearing, thinking of our thinking. Yeah, there is one more, deeper level. The life of our life. There is life behind life, which makes life possible, without which life makes no sense.
Just to take one step back and be aware of that as it's occurring, rather than, for me, rather than to be in the occurrence, but to be aware of that faculty of the occurrence.
Right. When these faculties were in the universal Purusha, they had full delight for themselves. They were totally satisfied. But once they were projected into manifestation and fell or plunged into the darkness of the inconscient, and from there started to evolve, they lost that joy. And that they are looking for it constantly in everything. Whatever they get, they try to squeeze that joy for themselves, that absolute delight. They are looking at every level. That's why we have such a mess in this world. Everybody wants to enjoy on every level fully, absolutely. Because it is their inherent right to get that bliss. And until they realize their source, until they connect to that Brahman, and that light will come through, they will never be satisfied. And that is also assurance that this evolution will go on until they get it, finally, in this body. I'm very glad you're asking it. It's very nice. I'm glad that you ask this because this is the biggest problem for Advaita, for Buddhism, where they have no self. And they can't actually manage it. Advaita has self, but it dissolves itself into the spirit, Brahman. So there is nothing left of it. But here we have different systems. We have Vishishta Advaita, we have Kashmirian Shaivism, which is very different from dissolving oneself into the spirit. Though you have to come to the unborn self, you have to realize the unborn self. But that realization does not actually cancel your individuality, and growth and change within the body does not cancel it or does not make it less. It makes it more. It magnifies it. It brings the powers which were not even thought possible for this body, and this body starts to change and become suitable instrument for the spirit. It can embody the spirit as it embodied the mind, as it embodied the vital. It embodied one by one. Now we have brain and we have tongue. We can speak. We can speak things and ideas which are going beyond this body. We bring those vibrations in. The same way we start bringing vibrations of realization of a higher realm. And it embodies it and changes the instrument, makes it more and more suitable. This is the integral yoga vision. We are not looking for salvation there. We are looking for mukti only for one reason, to become more capable to bring the divine light into the manifestation. That's only for that purpose we need mukti. And that's why we agree with Buddhism, with Advaita, with everyone, because they are also looking for mukti. But that is their final say, final station. For us, it is the beginning of the journey. We wanted to start a real life here. Life of the spirit within the body. And divine life, exactly. And forgot what I wanted to say. The divine life just made it clear.
Added the way to that was Anubhamayi and Karmamala. That the malas, the Anubhamala, root sense of separation, Maya, seeing differences, karma, judging those. Like we come back and hit that. When the grace hits the Anubhamala, then the divine light comes and starts to infiltrate all of the visions, the senses of separation, judgments of being alone, somehow that. That's what I'm hearing.
Right. And by the way, Sri Aurobindo was not the only one. Some of you know Ramakrishna and Vivekananda. And Ramakrishna believed in the same. He spoke about two types of souls, Ishvara Koti and Jivan Koti. And so there are normal souls, Jivan Koti, who are looking for manifestation of the spirit, so to say, looking for salvation in the spirit. They want to go and dissolve themselves in that mukti and never be born again. You hear this all the time in India. Never be born again. I want to reach nirvana and forget about this world. I had enough of it. I suffered enough. I don't want these pleasures of this world. I don't want to do anything with this. This is the ideal of Advaita. And Buddhism, by the way, to get out of suffering. The world is suffering. It's constant suffering. Why do we have to suffer? We have to get out. So the whole technology was developed, how to burn the bridges, how to get out into some pure consciousness where you're always in bliss. Would you come back when you're constantly in bliss, infinite bliss forever? I don't think so. Many of us would love to stay there. Why to suffer? Come back and start life and relations and misunderstandings and pain and death and disease and everything else. Old age. It's difficult. No? But there is another type, Ishvarakoti, who are reaching to the mukti, and from there they decide that they want to come back and to bring the divine into the manifestation. And these are chosen by the divine workers. They come back with a freedom, and that freedom is necessary to bring all those higher powers into action. And these are those Ishvarakoti souls. So it doesn't matter. We can be both. Yeah? It depends. What are you? Would you disappear into the spirit and infinite bliss, or would you come back to this manifestation? You would get out. Yeah, it's your choice of your soul. You can't really fight it. What your soul chooses, that it would be done.
The way I've always looked at it, there's no separation of the divine. I am the divine, and the divine is everything. We're all part of the divine, and your mind is everything that comes from your mind is manifestation and creation of your mind. I
Yes.
create my own reality. My own reality is me.
Absolutely.
Everything that is created, I visioned either I thought good thoughts or thought bad thoughts, and I follow that. And
Lovely.
these things come into your life. But the separation between the divine, is there a separation? That's,
You say that everything is the divine. Yeah? You say. Is it not so?
I don't, talking about the senses, I don't have to reach out for the divine. The divine's already here. So I'm already connected to the divine. So if I didn't have ears, smelling, speech, everything, I would just have my mind. So isn't that an illusion?
Well, if the divine is everything, as you rightly say, then your mind is also the divine.
From a Buddhist perspective, it's emptiness. Right?
Emptiness is the word which is not totally describing it, yeah, because it's kind of you can't explain everything by emptiness. It's kind of a bit empty. Emptiness is the word which is misleading, shunya. Yeah, and you know it. We know it because when those who studied Buddhism, they know that it is misleading. It's not totally emptiness. There is fullness in that emptiness. There is something present there. It's not just absence of everything. It is the presence of everything through that emptiness. And there are two types of people I noticed in my life. There are people who believe that at the beginning was zero, and those who believe that at the beginning was one. And I want to know what you believe. And I will tell you immediately whether you are inclined for Buddhism or you are inclined for Advaita or Buddhism or this Vishishta Advaita. Something else of Ramanuja or Sri Aurobindo or Kashmirian Shaivism. You would have, I immediately will tell you where you would go. What do you believe at the beginning was, 0 or 1? 1? Okay, already doubt. You doubt yourself.
There's no gray area there, right? That's good.
Or it could go from 0 to 1, back to 0 and back to 1.
Oh, definitely. No, that is already technology. What is at the beginning? Was there something or there was nothing? By the way, scriptures speak both ways. There was nothing at the beginning. Yeah? Or there was self at the beginning, Atman. Or there was Brahman at the beginning. He was alone. He looked around. So what do you believe? Was there self or there was no self? Both are there in the scriptures. Yeah, you have to decide for yourself. It's profound psychological, philosophical question for you. To know where you are heading at, what you will be doing with the spiritual presence, what you are looking for. You have some ideas? I think if your singularity, it can be both, one or empty. And since you say emptiness, then that's why it brought this question.
Emptiness doesn't necessarily mean nothingness. Right? It's a distinction there.
For myself, my understanding of mind is the absence of thought, the thinking. Mind is the stream of consciousness that I project in my individuated reality. But mind itself is the field, is the consciousness that allows all that to be possible. And then that gets into that Toronto figure about, we talked about before, how I believe that it does, role consciousness becomes...
From within to without.
Yeah, it becomes self, and becomes self-aware, and it puts information. It puts information into the creation, and it folds back in on itself. And the day and the night of Brahman, and that at that bigger level, how does the creation continue to expand and become aware, and life continues to build. I believe that is the answer. And I come from a place that is one, not from a place of zero. What is your thoughts on that? What's the Vedantic thinking on is it zero or one? Maybe it's really both, depending upon how we...
There is no zero without one, and can't be zero. Zero tells us only one thing, that there is one.
And I think some historians would say that zero was an Arabic numerical concept.
No, it's Indian. It's there in India. Arabs took it from India. Well, that's much we know that it is in India. Zero is a very interesting... Zero is not the number. This is the problem with zero. It tells us that there is nothing but one. This is the definition of zero I came to. It's quite interesting, yeah? Zero tells us that there is nothing but one.
I'm sitting here today not to experience emptiness. I'm coming here today for the bliss, the surging love. That's why I'm here, that's what I want. So, in the 0 and 1, where is that love generated? Where is its source? Because that's what I want. I want to go to that place. Is it a sense of awareness in the one? Is it the sight separation? Is it the separation coming back into that awareness? The rapture, the bliss. For me,
Bliss is the next step. When the one is there with zero, there is nothing else. That one views itself as existent, and that view of itself as existent brings enormous bliss. And that is Satchitananda within himself. It's inbuilt in him. 1 plus 2 equals 3. They are one family. You cannot separate them. This is one being which is blissfully aware of itself. Yeah? And that awareness generates infinite bliss.
I think I want to clarify, sometimes the word emptiness is misunderstood.
I know, totally.
For me, it's really understanding that everything that's manifest, and when we talk about the proton and the neutron, the emptiness is a place where the physical form doesn't exist. Here you have complete connection to the energy of the divine. Right? That is what some would call enlightenment, right? And to be connected to all, right? And to understand that that is the truth. The things that are coming out of our mind is just a reflection of our mind. It's just what, and we have to be careful because we tend to frame things, right, from examples that manifest from our mind, and they aren't necessarily right.
But it is the same mental idea of emptiness. It's a very mental idea. And because mind cannot perceive it otherwise. It has to know somehow, and it calls it emptiness, and then we kind of orient ourselves. It's like we say 1 and 0. We have to name things, because our surface mind has to have some understanding. We have to bridge the reality from within to without. And we do it by naming it and holding it in our surface mind. That's how we get to that experience, so there's that touch. For you, that codifying word is emptiness, which explains to you things and brings you the presence of the Spirit. For me, this is what I said. It makes a lot of sense. And it generates within me that sense of presence. And that's how we are kind of totally engaged with the mind, of course. How else?
So it's the need for everything that happens in our life.
Yes. How it happened. What is preferable to us. And every way is possible. I can believe that 0 was at the beginning and draw from it the whole universe. And if it works for me, and if I have the experience, it's fine. Let me, maybe, I do not know what, we are still, shall we make a break? It feels like a break, no? Before I jump into the next about the faculties. It's a big presentation, by the way, and we are at the beginning, it's slide number 4 or something, and I have 30 slides.